Is another Wednesday morning. Um, we are about ready to get started. A few minutes later than usual. I got sidetracked with answering some mails and stuff. So let me put my tweet out real quick. That is done. There is maintenance today, but I think it's only like a 15-minute deal. So I'm not crunching into anyone's playtime today. And yeah, I think that's all. I don't think there's any like special event going on at the moment. I think we should be expecting an announcement for this month's residential renovation event. It's a monthly thing, so and it lasts for about a week, so I'm sure we'll be getting a notice about that. Some of you may have noticed that the forums are back up. Not quite what a lot of us were expecting, I think. We've kind of lost the ability to have personal avatars, signatures, among many, many other things. I think the thing that I found the most troublesome was not being able to edit old posts. You can edit like newer posts, but only for like so long. There's like a spam filter or something. They have it timed, so you can only do it so many minutes between or after or before. I don't know what. But they are up, and there is a feedback thread about the forums and any issues you may have, or just general ranting you might want to do. So if you have issues with how the forum is or how it's working, legitimate suggestions about what they could reincorporate or change or whatever, I suggest you head into the forums and post your thoughts on that. Because while there are those that have done so already, including myself, the more people that really kind of let it be known about how they feel the forum should function and what tools we need to make things easier for us to get around in the, or just use them the way we want or need to. I think I don't want to say the more pressure Carbine will feel, but I think they will be more inclined to see about getting us those features that we really desire. So, I mean, I can live without the personal avatars. It's nice, and you can at least recognize people a little more readily that way when they post. But I think other things like being able to edit older posts, especially for those that create guides and things, that's really troublesome if you can't update the guide. You don't want people constantly spamming the forum with new threads of the same thing just to add some changes. So yeah, I can see how there are certain things that we definitely need to have back. Um, um, but yeah, so just a heads up on that. Like I said, not everybody is happy with it. I'm going to give it a little while. I think they're still adjusting things, um, trying it out, letting it go for a week or two, and then maybe they'll add some other things in. So fingers crossed it improves over time, as with anything else. Okay, so we are back on Entity NA. This is, I think it's the last competition winner on NA side, if I remember my list correctly. So it could be that starting the next time we come to Entity, we may be mixing in some individual plots. I have a list of both. I just haven't had time or haven't felt motivated to go through my previous list of individual plots to see if they're actually part of communities now. So I'll have to do that between now and the next time we visit Entity, but it could be that we start mixing in individual plot tours with community tours because I now have a listing of both. So we'll work on that. Now on Javits side, I think there's still a couple of communities that I need to check out that were tied to the community showdown competition from last year. So we'll finish those up for sure on Javits side if that is the case. So don't worry about that if I haven't gotten to your plots yet, communities yet. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning to Bones and anyone else that happens to be lurking around. I know not everybody likes to chit chat, which is perfectly fine. It's not required. I think I do enough chit-chatting for all of us. But as always, questions are welcome. I can't guarantee that I can answer all of them, though a lot of the viewers that are in the chat can often pick up my slack, which they do quite a bit, thankfully. But we will do our best. Generally speaking, this being a housing stream, we're not really into discussing actual like dungeon and raid tactics or what kind of class is better than this or that class or anything. I'm more of a player that says just play what you feel like playing. Don't worry about, you know, having the best of this or if there's some kind of a need for a particular race or class or whatever. But anyway, I'm the last person to ask for advice on any kind of things to do with combat and stuff because I'm basically just face roll everything. I just like spam my buttons and things die thankfully before my character does, generally speaking. Not always, but generally, and I just happen to get by that way. My main focus is housing, so if you're looking for something else other than that, this is definitely not the place to come. Um, I will say that I've noticed more people kind of streaming WildStar, but I'm hesitant to kind of uh, link them up or host them because a lot of them are kind of like they just do it once and then they move on to the next shiny thing. I'm really looking for those that are focused primarily on WildStar. So if you know of a streamer that's doing that, even if it's not specifically housing, I'd be happy to host them, help get, you know, spread a little bit of the love if they do it regularly, you know, with the streaming of WildStar. It's okay if they stream other games. I know not everybody's single-minded like I am, but I would prefer those that are not just going to do a one-time, you know, a one-off kind of thing. I want someone that's, you know, doing it regularly, even if it's, you know, once a week or once every 2 weeks, that kind of stuff, as long as it's something pretty steady. Um, so yeah, if you know of someone like that, a streamer, then be sure and give me a heads up on that, and I'll be happy to add them to my hosted list. They're not required to host me back, of course. That's just if they want to. I have a few that do that for me, and I appreciate it, but it's definitely not something, it's not where I feel like you have to reciprocate kind of thing. Okay, so, excuse me, already getting choked up. I'm so excited about it. Again, we are on Entity NA, and this particular community is called Marauders Hideout. Now, again, based off of the names of the characters that are owners of the individual plots of this community, I am guessing that this is a single individual that has just put their alts together. Um, and again, that's perfectly fine. It's often preferred for a lot of our hardcore builders. They have just ideas gushing out of their brain and they can't help but spread it all over the place. So it's not unusual to see a project even of this size to be built up by a single person. We'll be going the usual counterclockwise. I think we could probably get away with going the other way because you can see there's like some bridges and stuff leading off, but I'm going to try and keep it to my usual just because I'm stubborn. It's one of those plots that I think you could actually just go whatever way you want. You don't have to follow the actual paths if you don't want to. As you can see, there's a lot of bridges and twirlygigs coming down and bridges and stuff, but we're just going to kind of go this way, sort of. If I can do it my own way. Now, as you can see, this is kind of, it's not exactly jungly. It looks almost like we're in some kind of not a cavern per se, because there's open sky, but it feels like some kind of a rocked-in valley, because you'll see there's like some overhang in a lot of the area above. There's a lot of water features. They made abundant use of the newer waterfalls, the one you get from the cash shop. And it did some clever ways of like making it look like deep water, even though it's actually paper thin. A lot of the rock that you see, I believe, is the taurine head statue. I think that's what it is because of the green that's on it. That particular item has a little bit of mossy on the bits on the back, and also has these little jagged kind of indentations in it. It could be other things too. Um, some of the um, some of the items that I just haven't messed with, and I just don't recognize it as such. But I think some of it is that. There's also, I think, the stepping stones from the Sarkon Basin area. And of course, there's a lot of use of the upside down snowy hills. I think there's even some like the Insta Hills, the Protostar Insta Hills that you get from the cash shop, and probably even the upside down massive umbrella trees. As you can see, there's plenty of water features, plenty of stone, lots of greenery. It's not, like I said, it's not exactly jungly, but it has a jungly feel because of all the vines and things coming from the overgrowth. I don't think they're using a lot of like the thinker heads in some of the places that we've seen before. But yeah, let's just, very colorful too. Um, I think part of that is to do with the sky remodel that they chose. And that's why it has that orangish, almost neon-y kind of, I don't know what you call it, psychedelic coloring. Now we actually enter another plot. If I was to move a little further in, and we'd actually be going here, but I'm gonna go off to the side this way and get us into the first plot down below. Most of the pathing, I think, is the boardwalk pieces. But like here, you can see there's no puffs of dirt or snow. So I'm pretty sure this is and it's curved, of course. I'm pretty sure this is a Protostar Instahill. And again, we've talked about this, about using the Instahills and how you can kind of recognize straight up where they end and where they begin, because the clutter, and when we say clutter, we're talking about these grasses and bits that are on the ground level of your remodel. You can turn that off and it'd be perfectly flat and smooth like it is here. But if you have it on, you can clearly see where that fake hill comes in, because the clutter stops suddenly. So yeah, it's one of those things where a lot of builders choose to turn the clutter off and then they just add their own grass patches where they want. Others will leave it on and then add grass patches, and then still others will just leave it blank. But again, you can kind of clearly see where it starts and stops. That's the only odd thing about using the Insta Hills and even the other landscaping materials if you're trying to get it to blend in. That's why I think a lot of builders just kind of turn the clutter off so they don't have that issue. ATW, yeah, it is. It's pretty stark. Um, Not to my taste. I think I prefer more subdued coloring, but yeah, to each their own. Okay, let's see. Trying to see what all we need to visit. I want to make sure we hit all of the places that need to be hit. Now, I think most of the misty, steamy smoke that you see is actually part of the waterfall animation. I think it's just they've been so oversized to, because the water is like placed above the stone and it's coming off. And I think it's just so big that the puffs are coming out a little bit bigger than one would think. Now, this here leads to where you would zone in if you came to the plot individually, if you just visited Mahana Alt 3 plot owned by Nakami Kainoa, something like that. This is where you would zone in. They've built it up a little bit. Nothing super fancy. They've got, it looks like a upside down tree, the base to get the ground to come up a bit. Hey, Poi, good morning. Glad you could make it. And again, you can see how there's a lot of bits up above, and they've really gone crazy with the overgrowth to make it look like it's, you know, overgrown with the overgrowth. Uh, gives you the idea that it's humid and wet here, so there's, you know, moss growing everywhere. Now, as far as some of these bits around, I think these are fab kits. I think this is one of the Marauder ones where you can turn off the NPCs. If you own the plot and you set it in, there's a little, you can either talk to an NPC or there's an item here, a bottle, a note, whatever, that you can actually toggle the NPCs off and on. And I think in this instance, they've chosen to turn them off, so you don't see all of the peoples populating this place. Now, some might wonder, why would you want to do that? It helps populate your plot if you're not like one that's really into the role-playing scene. It makes it feel more lively if there's actual NPCs on the plot. But in cases where your plot is actually being, you know, regularly used for role play sessions, it might be a little overcrowding because you want the place to be populated with actual players rather than NPCs. Plus, a lot of the NPCs, including the individual ones that you can place wherever you want, do have some dialogue, and that can get spammy if, say, you happen to be standing close to them trying to hold a role play conversation with a fellow player, and then having the NPC constantly chatter, and that can like fill your chat log up quite a bit. So there's pros and cons to keeping it. Yes, it adds to the atmosphere and keeping, you know, like a city or something lively, but it does have its drawbacks depending on how talkative the NPCs are. So just a thought. I think that was nice of them to add that option and to be able to remove the NPCs if you didn't want them there, if you wanted to populate it with your own groupings. So yeah, so I think that's a fab kit, as well as this one here with the ships. I think this is a separate one. Got the ones up above, the little platforms. Again, it's Marauder related. Same way with the this here. I'm not sure if that's a fab kit or if it's um, just one of the train pieces that they've played around with. I think it's a fab kit. What it's called, I have no idea. I tend not to use fab kits myself, so I'm not really familiar with all of, especially the latest ones that have been released. I couldn't say for sure. Maybe this is the casino one. Go inside and check it out. Yeah, I think this is the casino one. You can port into the casino here. And this comes pretty much decked out as you see it. I think they've added some things like the door and stuff, but I think most of this comes pre-furnished. Same way with the interior here. This doesn't look like it's been touched per se. I think it comes as is. It's not that you can't add additional things to it, but it looks like they've left it pretty much pristine there. So I don't know what they intended to do with this little space, but they've added it in. This is the main house. It's actually, I believe it's, I want to say it's a Chua house. You can see the two spheres of it. And it looks like they've kind of blinged it out with Red Moon decor to kind of modify it slightly. Like I think this is one of the either lights or tables. Um, the door they've changed up a bit by using the round uh, blue light lounge drinking table. I think it's not the easier table to get a hold of. The rectangle one's much easier to grab. But and then I think this is one of those Red Moon pillars that they've tacked on to it to make it look like it's built into it. Now this, I think, comes from some of the newer raids dungeons. I honestly don't know. It's a pretty fun item, but it's pretty specific. I mean, it's not like just Red Moon, I think. I really don't know. This is the interior. And a lot of Marauder type, Red Moon type items being used because, again, they're going for a specific theme. If you're having trouble with building your own spiral staircases, a lot of people love this squid platform. If you don't want the squid part actually showing, just do like they've done here. Add on an item that will cover it up so you don't see the little octopus or whatever. Some just use a standard cylinder or tubing. Others find items like this to work just as nicely. It hides it, but you still get to utilize the staircase for those that have trouble putting together a smooth stairway. And it works even if you have multiples of them. We've seen a few plots where there's like 3 or 4 stacked on top of each other. And just position it just right, you can get it to be fairly smooth. Yes, there's this one little, I think, bar thing that you have to kind of tend with, but thankfully your character kind of just moves along. Here's a little custom fireplace. Again, I believe it's, I want to say it's a combination of a couple of fireplaces because these brackets and bits here look like the Exile one. But then this part back here with the rods reminds me of the Chua hot rod one or heat rod. So it looks like there's 2 fireplaces smushed together and then they've covered it up to kind of hide the smushing with some Chua flavored uh, building blocks, the archway and the walls, or floors, I guess is better. And then I think they slapped it's like 3 fire thingies. There's the hologram one from the Exile one, there's the rods from the Chua one, and then they put a campfire in there, probably for the addition of the embers blowing out. Interesting combo. This here, I think, is the Space Taco decor, and they've just sized it up and turned it into a little, like a control room. The animation down here, I think, is part of one of the Macari tables. It's got some weird doodads, and then they've tacked on other bits, like I think this is, again, that same table or something similar being used, and then this is the Exile tactical table. And of course, they've added in some of the Red Moon screens. The chair is, I think this is one of the throne chairs from Arctera, like a Osun bit or something. And then they've added in a stool, a Red Moon stool inside it to make it usable, kind of fake it in. Now, that doesn't always work. So you kind of just have to play with it because I've seen where some places they'll have a seat inset into something else and it makes it, for whatever reason, non-functional. It'll light up and everything, but you won't actually be able to click on it. I don't know the quirkiness that comes with that. You just have to experiment. Sometimes it has to do with the size of the stool, or how far into the floor you might have it pushed. This is actually above the floor since it's inside the item, and maybe because they have enough of it exposed, it doesn't affect its functionality. But just be aware that it doesn't always work like you think it's going to. I've had it work and not work in both instances, so it's just kind of a game of experimentation when it comes to that stuff. Not so much to look at there. Okay, let's see. Not sure how exactly we get up to the little high rise over here. I don't know if we actually get to it from this plot or from a different area. So kind of go around the edges here. I think this leads us to the next plot over, so I'm going to avoid that spot for a moment. Yeah, I think it's probably we get to it from a different location. I don't really see anything. No secret stairs or now, if you see me mousing over, it's because there are some, like the stone doors and stuff, that kind of blend in a little too well at times. So I'm always making sure I'm not missing anything. Some hidden cubby hole that someone like me would easily overlook. I don't see how to get up there except via the paths that are from other plot areas. We'll just move on to the next one. Again, I don't know what all stones they're using. Some of them kind of remind me of the base of some of the light poles that we have, or the fence posts, I should say. But again, some of this also looks like those Marine heads, the ones that has like the woman's face on it, but if you turn it to the back, it's just stone with a little bit of green, mossy look on it. This bridge, I think, is called Brooker's Bridge. It's kind of a rare drop if you're lucky enough to get a hold of it. Fantastic. If you can't, we do have rope bridges that you can get from the vendor, and there's lots of things you can use for these little support posts on either end. I've seen people use pillars, some use light poles or fence posts, use just about anything that works with whatever theme you're going for. There's enough variety of the fence posts and stuff where if you're going for an Orin theme, you can find viney looking bits to kind of put up and it'll match just as well. I think with the Brookers Bridge, it's really maraudery looking with the purple and just some of the materials being used. But don't fret if you can't get a hold of it, because you can always make something just as nice using the materials you have at hand that are more readily available. So don't fret about that. So here we're on Mahana Kainoa. Kainoa. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sure I'm messing it up quite badly. Um, Again, you can kind of see just the massive amount of work that's gone into putting this together. There's a lot of upper level stuff going on. We will get to that definitely. I'm just going to kind of keep down here. Again, I think this part specifically is a fab kit, and you can see that they've left it populated with the NPCs, and you can see that they're kind of chatty here and there. So again, it's, you know, pros and cons. If you're more into the role play scene, you might not appreciate all of the chitter chatter that's not coming from your fellow role players, but there you go. Now I think they've added this part in themselves, making it look like, I guess, kind of a casino bar type of deal. Here we got presumably slot machines. Maybe they're ATMs. I don't know, but just because of the whatever else is going on with the bar and stuff, I'm thinking more like um, slot machines or something, or some kind of video games or whatever. But you can see there's a lot of technophage items in here. There's the one that I think looks like um, a fuel pump. I forget what it's called. Not the emitter one. The emitter one is like the three lights that kind of move. It looks like up here is like one of the technophage tubes. You got some of the trim, circuit trim stuff. And then here at the bottom, it's like an oversized ergonomics keyboard. Got a couple of the Exile tactical tables, and then some of the controllers to give those extra buttons. Everybody loves the buttons. And I think this bit here is part of the Exile bulletin board, the one that has the scrolling text stuff. This here, again, presumably some kind of game. It's just using like the ship window. A lot of people end up using for doors. And then I think it's got the graded floor panel, and then it's got like some hover park pieces, and then of course the screens from Arctera, the Soul Frost panels. On that, I have absolutely no idea. I think that's an urn from Shade's Eve. You probably like it for the skull part, because a lot of the Marauder stuff has the skulls imagery. Here is another kind of, I guess this is their 3D Tetris or something, or Retris, I guess, using the, again, this is a combination of many different things. I can see the animated like moving part with the buttons. That's part of the Gatorade machine or Gatorade machine. Then you got the Macari table. This part here, the flashy neon, that's some of those beer signs. Katia and a bunch of others like to use those for like their scoreboards for the numbers and lettering. We've seen some of that as well. Tactical table again, ergonomics keyboard. This part here I think is part of one of those medical bits. I don't know if it's the medical cot or the body scanner thing. And then here for the steps, it's, again, it's the same item here, the window, and they've just layered them up to make steps and then added in, I think this is one of the screens from either just straight up from the Red Moon pack, or it's part of that space taco thing. And I think this is some of the new circuitry that you get from either the Red Moon or straight up Dominion pack. This part here with the like little electricity bits, I think that's again from that scanner. I think it's the same piece. The thing a lot of people like to use for like refrigerators or decontamination units. They like to put the smoke from the blue flare in there, and it makes it look like a little spacey thing going. Here we have a little crane game. Again, the bluish neon, that's from those beer signs. These are the technophage circuitry bits. You've got some of the technophage doors being used here. This is that, it's the same piece over here, the what I call the fuel tank, fuel pump, technophage style for the side there. This down here is one of those turrets. You can kind of see it move just a little bit. It's a little weird that way. Again, the Gala Raid machine for this little animation bits. Lots of plushies, and then the crane arm looks just to be your usual Chua Tech arm stuffs stuck in there. Seen a lot of different kinds of crane games and stuff, and it's always fun to see how people set it up. Some don't go through the elaborateness of actually having a functioning little tube area where the toy comes out. Some just kind of fake it in a little bit. That works really nice. Now, notice the extra animation with the green little marks. I think that comes from the Datascape window. Over here we have the bar with a few more of the games. Now these games here, the little arcade bits, that comes as is. But we have seen folks actually build up their own using like some of the travel posters and stuff. I've seen some really cool pinball machines and everything using those items. But like the animated floors and the walls and stuff, that's all from that retro decor stuff. They had all the arcade games and the retros blocks and the wallpapers and rugs and stuff, and that's where this is all coming from. You see some of the retros blocks on the ceiling. This big sign in the back, that's actually this same bit here. It's just oversized and they just showing you this. The whole part of the machine itself is underneath the ground, so you don't see it. Yeah, it's just a little, sometimes you can figure out what it is, but when someone's only using a small part of an item, but other times it's not as recognizable, but that particular one is. So, and of course, using a lot of the Red Moon stuff, you got the screens, the lights, the bar, the rotating bar, the stationary bar. And of course, the air hockey game is a come as is. But again, if you can't get a hold of those items or don't want to use a standard just plop it down kind of thing, we've seen a lot of people come up with some really fun ideas for pool tables and air hockey, foosball tables, little table tennis. There's all sorts of things you can go. If, you know, depending on how much decor limit you have and how elaborate you want to get with your pre, custom stuff. I, for one, prefer the custom. I like these items way better than I do the standalones, but I know out of necessity, just because the limits of how many pieces of decor we can actually put in, sometimes you don't have any choice but to use some standalone. If you're curious about this, I believe that's the back of the Flush-O-Matic 5000, 3000, whatever it's called. It's the toilet. A lot of people like to use it for hand dryers and things. Others use it to kind of represent like a heater or something. I think that's what they're doing here. We're just adding some extra lighting so it's flashy and animated. But yeah, I believe that's the back of the toilet. My awesome jumping skills just don't work right. Okay, this is the Ferris wheel fab kit. We'll try going up it in a little bit. I'm not sure if it actually leads to, it might be the way you get up top to a connecting part. I've seen some people do that before, so, but it looks like they've added some things like the windmill thing. I don't think that's actually part of the fab kit. Um, this, of course, is one of the daily login rewards here. Again, that and items from like the Starfall event and everything. If you haven't managed to unlock them for whatever reason, if you have a roommate that has, they can actually purchase those items for you and place them in your crate. That way you have access to them, which is kind of helpful. Now, I'm not sure what's being used. I think this is the upside down cellar entrance. You can tell kind of by the brick. And then the base of it is one of those graded floor panels, and then they just turned it into this little workshop here. The fireplace or foundry, or I don't know what you want to call that. I think it's a combination. It's like this item, and then they've used the same item but a little bigger and hidden to make the back part of it. And then threw on a fan. I think it's an exhaust fan, and then the gear. Dress it up a little bit. Here's that Gatorade machine that we saw being used for some of the um, signs inside that other room. Again, if you just push it into the wall just enough, you can hide the machine itself and just have the graphics, which is kind of fun. Yes, it moves, but it's good like if you're trying to make like a faux television or something, and you're needing some kind of imagery on there rather than getting super elaborate and trying to build a scene, which I have done. I'm like a newscaster before, which is kind of weird, but there you go. Go up this way. A lot of this hover park pieces, and then I think this is one of those. I want to say it's the WildStar catwalk, maybe. Can't remember what it's called. This is the little. I think it's the Dominion bunker. I think is what it's called, something like that. They turned it into a little control room using a number of panels and control panels. Um, ergonomics keyboard up there. Got the Dominion. This, I think it's these three screens are all one piece. Like here's the detonator. Just again, when you're looking for little buttons, there's plenty of items that kind of have those features on. This little walkway here, those are suitcases with the, I think it's called the cosmetronic fencing. I think you'd probably more recognize it if you see the zigzaggy orange, but you can kind of see it peeking out here, I think. They've just turned it upside down so that the heartbeat looking bits are underneath. Go back down, back up. So it's a little practice room. They can training area, whatever you want to call it. The graded fencing or whatever you want to, I don't remember the name exactly. That comes from the Arctera area. It's like unlocks really early on. It's like friendly reputation level. I think it's so it's super easy to get to it. It's really nice. A lot of people find it for find good uses for it. Not only for like walling like this, but I've seen some use it shrunk down and then framed up and make it look like um, a wine rack. Others have used it for actual cages and stuff that they've built themselves, among many other things. Um, Right here we have kind of a, I don't know if this is like a lab greenhouse kind of thing going on. The carpet is the top of the tree table. Here's that one that has the zigzaggy stuff that we saw that was part of that game machine before. This is, see how it looks a little bit more like it's standalone part. They've just inset it a little bit. They've got it bracketed with those technophage gas pumps, and but that's the whole piece right here, and another medical bit thingy. They're using it kind of like a greenhouse thing. Now, if you're wondering about the animation below, it has that eerie, spooky, ghosty stuff. That's one of those haunted items from Shades Eve. It's either the haunted, uh, I call it the angel mask. It's the one with the wigged out hair, or the Jack Shade's head. I think there might be one or two other pieces that do the same thing, but that's why you get the little cleanse button that pops up and cleanse it, and it'll get rid of it, but then it comes right back. Sometimes it stays away for a little bit, but then eventually it comes back. So it's not like you've messed it up completely. That just shows you what it looks like without, and then they've just kind of added that in for some extra oomph to it. Like here's part of like technophage tubes, planters. Got it looks like some soul frost stuff. See some piping here, soul frost tubing. Same way here, trying to show that it's all connected. This, I think, is uh, the bathroom sink. You see the spout from it, and they just really oversized it, added in some waterfalls, the tubing, the fan, and then added in some grasses and stuff. Most of the flowers, I think, come from the spring decor pack, but if you can't get a hold of those, any of the other cluster flowers, like the canary plants and stuff, would work nicely. The base of it is the cellar entrance. The grading here is a combination of that from above with the from the uh, Arctera area, but they've also got the Marauder shelves on there too. Um, Workshop sign. I want to say this is from one of the lamp posts. Not sure about that. There's the technophage emitter. It's like a little box, and it has the three lights, and they're just using it as kind of a little scanner thing, maybe it's a security system or whatever. And it leads you into another fab kit. I think this is the all the customization fab kits where you can get runes and clothing here. They've just boxed it in nicely so it feels like a totally different space, even though most of it is prefab. There's another way of getting it. See, they've given it a roof and tacked on a lot of little Marauder-like goodies. I like this here, this little fan, the combination of that Macari table and then an actual windmill bit to give that spinning. I'm guessing just because of how it looks, probably the low grav pad fab kit that's underneath here. Oops, totally out there. That gets us to the upper area. Now, some of the smaller ships, I think, are standalone, just ships you can get from running some of the ship hands. I think those always come with, like, ended up with a ton of little model ships, and I never used them for anything. But this one here is actually custom, or it's blinged out. It might be a ship, and they just added to it. But let's see if I can figure out what some of this is. Like, I think this is one of the cannons, the Exile cannons. And then some of these are ship engine parts. Honestly, don't know what all of this is. It looks like pressure dividers. I see some sulfurous tubing. Looks like one of the Osun cryopods as well, being used as like the little pilot area. It's a show of a really interesting builder when you can't really figure out what all they're using. You just kind of taking a wild guess. Some of the stuff inside, you can see they've got the Marauder panel, the keyboards. Looks like a little alien inside there on the throne. Yeah, I couldn't say for sure what all this is. Some of it looks like spaceship parts, like the fins and the sides here. Uh, some of this with the lattice part, that reminds me of the exotic decor a little bit. And with color shifting, that can alter how something appears. You might recognize it more if it's in its natural coloring, as opposed to if someone really like taps the color from it by turning it black and white. It actually might be more recognizable in its natural coloring than it is now. So, don't know. But again, we have a lot of builders that focus on these kind of like ships and automobiles and other types of vehicles, and they just do an outstanding job of creating some interesting combinations of items to really throw you for a loop. This here, I don't know if this is meant to be like a power source of some kind, but you can see there's a soul frost tank and the tubings, or well, I guess what that's called. I don't know if this is a platform, like a landing platform. The FreeBot analyzer bits, I think. Some of the wolf bits. There's even some pillars and who knows what making this up. You can see there's just got so many things. See, this would be the way you could come up if you rode the Ferris wheel. We'll skip that. Okay, I think we go back down this way. Now, if we go in here, this takes us this spot. Now, there's several different ways you can come in. They've got this set up so that several doors, if you unlock it, there's the Osun door here. You can walk right through the picture. A lot of people like to use those for the hidden passages and stuff. Below is, I think it's the Exile tactical table, and they've sunk it down just enough where you just see the animation and a little bit of the edging. And then they've also got the Marauder emblem down here, or sigil, whatever you want to call it. Now, it's covering the bunker house. Again, you've got that body analyzer item here. Up above is the Marauder netting shelf thingy. A lot of people like to use it as a door as well, because if you make the item big enough, you can walk right through the center hole here. But we're going to take a look at what's down inside. Here's inside. Again, it's that body analyzer scanner thing. There's some tea lamps. The smoke, I presume, is from the blue flares. There's other smokes from the decor pack, but just by the look of it, it reminds me of that. There's the laser scanners. There's a little bit of Technophage stuff with the purple coming in. Soul Frost bits from Arctera. Now, I'm pretty sure we visited this particular plot before, but again, because it's part of a community now, we're just going to go ahead and go through it. But I love the aquarium here. The bubbles, of course, are coming from poison spore items, I think it is. But you can see how they've snuck in like the strain critters to make them look like little eels or whatever. The green lighting up here, that's the Eldon antenna, I think is what it's called. It gives off a nice green light. It also comes with a little bit of striping you can see to kind of match the grading that's on the light itself. The bar here is Marauder net shelves. You've got some Technophage circuitry. You've got Soul Frost tubing. You've got the Blue Light Lounge tables, Tiki bars, the lamps, flooring, that nice gold striped stuff. That's the bottom of the Dominion comfortable bed. I think that's the name of it. Comfortable Dominion bed or comfortable something. And this is the leather sofa. I think it's the bottom of it. It's that plush purple looking thing. If you're wondering about the floor, it's kind of shiny. It's got a little bit of texturing to it, but that's, again, typically for most of us builders, as soon as we get an item, we're like flipping it upside down, whirling around, looking at it from all directions, because you never know what kind of interesting textures and stuff you're going to get. It's like another big fave is the bottom side of the cellar entrance. It has those kind of like black and white, almost like a barcode kind of striping. And a lot of people love it for countertops and floors and walls, just like here. The walls is the same item as the floors. It's the base of that bedding bit. Arrows, golden arrows for the stairs, and then some of those, I think it's Eldon brackets or something. I don't remember what the name of that is. Again, Gatorade machine just pushed in, so you just see the sign itself. Here, I guess, is somebody's fancy desk. A lot of technophage bits. You've got the ones that look like the fuel pumps. The emitter, I think, is back here. I don't know what all this is. Technophage Eldon slash stuff. Again, the fireworks crate is part of that Starfall event where you can get not only the crate as it is like this, but you can get all the individual rockets and fireworks and even the crate empty and the lid and everything. That's from the Starfall event. You do there's an achievement you have to complete, and I think it's acquiring certain pieces from the different events or dailies or whatever during the event. And once you unlock it, it's permanently unlocked. It doesn't go away after the event is done, which is extremely wonderful because those pieces are great for a lot of different things. um, let's see what we got here. This, I think, has been turned into some kind of a little game using again, it's the card table, but it's also the Exile tactical table, and then they're using all these little mini hologram thingies as like little playable pieces. This here is part of that Gatorade machine again. I have no idea what's being used for the smoke part, but there's several pieces they could probably use for that. I don't know if it's like a forge piece from Arcterra or what, from like the OSIN bits. This, I think, is one of the taco stand or one of those little shopkeeper things. It's just the sign that's on top. The bulletin board here, that's actually one of the portraits. It's a portrait with the guy with the red eye thing, looks like a little pirate thing. And then they've got one of the neon signs here. This is a medical table or medical cot, I think. And then they've just tacked on some of the notes and the treasure map there. This here, you don't recognize as some of the new Macari furniture, sofa and the table. There's also I think a chair, like a small stool kind of thing. This bit here is a Tua desk, and then just inset there on the pillar. I don't know what it's meant to represent. Try again. Little treasure room. All the different little goodies. The little wall inset here, that's some of those Draken cabinets, and then they've got the data escape windows behind. This is pretty. I'm not sure what this comes from, but I think this is some of those oversized gears, and then the tentacles come from that Palavar Point daily. It also gives you a chance of getting some of like the sewage pipes and things like that. The smoke probably comes from either the toxic barrels or the bubbling cauldron. This back here are the spooky windows. We saw someone a few weeks back that made really great use of them by recoloring them to a kind of an orange and made it look like fire. So like the house that they were used on was in theory on fire, and it looked really, really good. So if you don't want the spooky green, just color shift it to something else and you can play around with it. I don't know what all they're using for the netting, but it looks like the ends of the Marauder, not the Marauder, the nautical bed, what it reminds me of anyway, for some of this rope work. We've got a lot of skull items. If you're looking for skulls, check out like Falcon items, Draken items. I think even some of the Pell stuff has it. All sorts of little creepy bits. This here, I think, comes from the Barbie from the summer decor pack. I think that's the little grill. I think that's the side of it or the front of it. It's one of the two. Someone's luxurious bedroom here. This is just those tentacles wrapped around one of the circular windows. The circular window isn't that easy to come by, but you could probably put something together similar by maybe using a Orin window, color shifting it to a duller color if you don't like the bright pinks and greens or oranges. Um, and if you really are striving to get that wire work, you could use maybe the hanging cables or something similar to kind of fake it in a little bit. I have no idea what this is supposed to be, but it's mostly hover part pieces for the structure. It looks like one of those taurine orgy things. That's probably not the technical term for it, but there you go. The bed is actually two beds. It's the same thing that's being used for that gold striped flooring down below. This is the upper side of it. And they're just flipped it on top and using it as the cover as well, or the awning, or whatever you want to call it. They've got it framed up inside some exotic decor um, dividers. And I think these brackets here are part of another exotic decor piece, possibly a table or something along those lines, just to give it a little bit more bracketry. And I forget what this is called. It's like a basin or something, and they put a campfire in it along with the weeping fountain, just to add that extra creepy factor to it. Up here, you can better see the chandelier from the living room. We'll be going inside that part later, but it's like a double nautical wheel chandelier with the Osun chain links, lots of candles. Way back down. Okay. Uh, this here, I think it's the base of one of the like Cassian post lamps, maybe. It's just being used as the pedestal for the bust there. Nice way of displaying all of the boss heads that this person has managed to collect. Here's their little TV, and they've actually gone through the trouble of building up this three-dimensional box so that they could put in a little scene. So here you have some action going on. Again, that little Gatorade machine, the Eldon screen in combo with the Macari table, probably the oh, what's it called? I don't think it's the Exile tactical table, but it's something similar. These here are engine pieces on top of the uh, blue light lounge tables, and you've got some of the technophage circuitry going around, and then all of that boxed in with braided floor panels right here. The table itself, um, honestly, I'm not sure what all this is, but I can see like datascape windows are part of it, that pretty design on the bit. And I suspect it might be the underside of maybe another furniture piece. Which one, I have no idea, but you know. Gotta love the fireplace here. Again, those same beds that are being used for this part and for the bed upstairs, it's also being used here for the fireplace. Again, it helps kind of blend in some of the colors and the shapes, um, like the red highlighted bits, frame or whatever you want to call it. But like this part here, that's the edging of the golden arrow, little mantle here. Inside the beds, they're using, it looks like the Osun furnace for the back part, and then down below it's just another one of the campfires, I think. Behind it is some of the exotic decor. I think it's the wall hangings. Here we have the library, and we saw from above here, there's that double chandelier. Nice use of the divider along with the exotic cabinet, making it a single piece. Here you have that basin thing with one of the candle bits on top to make it look like a little table. Again, the bookshelves, they're all uh, the ones that actually come in a shelf, and they've just boxed them up inside some 2x4s to kind of make them look a little bit more. Don't have the acorn bits on top and everything. And then they've got an oversized aquarium. You can see there's part of that nautical bed. Got some of the tentacle plants behaving as um, jellyfish. Again, the bubbles are from the poison spore. There's like a tree and a shrub, I think. It's oversized and really big, and it makes really big bubbles. Some of this is terminite mounds, and you've got far side stuff. You've got underwater bits like the barnacle weeds. This plant is from one of the underwater kits that comes with like the shells that you see here and such. The fireplace is, I think it's the bottom of the lop oven, and then probably one of the burning tracks, some logs, and then some fence work to make up the metal grating. And then having that again trimmed in the 2x4s, kind of clean it up a bit. I expect this is meant to be like a clock. Combination of Macari doodads. Who knows what else? I have no idea. There's a little show-off room for their posters, among other things. Notice they're using unframed glass here. Technophage circuitry. You've got the maintenance platforms. Appears to be the kitchen part. We already saw the bar over here, I think. Maybe it's a different bar. Anyway, back to the kitchen. Yeah, I think this is one of my favorite kitchens. It's really compact. There's a lot going on, so you have to kind of take your time. But there's these the weapons crates being used as the fridge. The shelving is the tablet computers. And of course, they've added in icicles and winter or icicle glacier overgrowth type items to kind of make it look a little colder. I think this animation that you see with the like sparky bits, I think that's coming from the frost skull. Not positive on that. And then the smoke bits you see from time to time, I think those are from the blue flares. Because the smoke of that particular item is very unpredictable. It doesn't constantly stream a certain way. It kind of poofs and moves and kind of awkward. Let's see. The cabinetry here is, oh, I feel a sneeze coming on, is a combination of airtight, excuse me, airtight containers, the tablet computers. You've got the kitchen sink that comes from the boxing gym fab kit if you manage to complete that. They've got a waterfall snuck in there. This is part of the Gatorade machine. This here, that's the Chewa chair, the ergonomics keyboard for the buttons on the side. This bit here, I think, is actually part of the desk that has all the like books and stuff on it, and they've just made it so you just see the bottle and glass that appears on there. They've sunk it low enough and twisted it so that you just see that part rather than the papers and the lamp and everything that's on top. This part above with this little canopy here, that's part of the apple cart, the Oran apple cart. You can see the apples here, but they've stuck it inside the wall so that you just see the little awning and the shelf there, which is super clever how they've used it, but very particular in how you have to place it. Behind that is one of the exotic decor dividers, I think. Then you have, it looks like a general exile shelf, another layering of the tablet computer, and then they've got the television sunk in so you just see the screen there. This here is again that lop oven. They've just kind of boxed it in with, oh, excuse me. It looks like 2x4s. It's kind of hard to see because it's so dark. If we proceed into space, again, you're going to see a mixture of things. There's like candy from the Winterfest bit, same way with the string lights here. This is from the summer decor pack, the beach ball, the crate lid from the Starfall event. All right, Bones, thanks for dropping by and have a good day at work. We'll see you later. This here, this is the fireplace or little grill or whatever you want to call it. Tiki bars, tiki roof. The little tiki things here, I think, come from another decor pack. I like the way they've dressed up the Blue Light Lounge drinking table. They've topped it with a nautical wheel and then put in the Morrow, the strained Morrow bits at the bottom. just to make it look a little wonky, weird. The table here again is those tiki bars, and they just topped it with either um, cylinder or a dome, kind of pop it in there. The jukebox is Soul Frost tubing, hover park pieces. The disco machine here, or ball, is, I think it's a daily login reward. I'm not positive on that. I can't honestly remember. There's some Macari items in here. The ergonomics keyboards. I think this is the Technophage emitter. More circuitry. Really nice looking. We've seen a few people tackle those. I built one in the past myself. Some go through the elaborate work of like trying to make stuff look like records layered up. We've seen people use like plates and things. So with the color shifting, you're probably play around with that even more. Some have used the Technophage platforms because they're kind of thin and narrow. Probably get away if you happen to have a lot of those Marauder sigils. Those would probably work too. Um, there is an actual record player thing that you can get. I forget what that was from, but yeah, those are just some fun things that you can use if you're trying to make it a little bit even more uh, kind of realistic. Can you play songs on the jukebox? No, unfortunately, you can't. Uh, you can dream about doing that, and I think people have suggested that they provide that functionality. Same way with those that want to have like cameras that work to be able to take little pictures and stuff, um, or people that want like guest books that they can set out into their plot and have people actually, sign them or whatever. But no, it doesn't have that functionality. It kind of looks like it's interactable because they're using an actual control panel there, but it's not how it works. If you're wondering about the giant beer bottle, that is from the speaker that has the little Draken girl picture on the side. They just oversized it hugely and just set it so that you just see beer bottle. We've seen a lot of people use that in clever ways to make clutter of beer bottles laying on the ground as well. The bar itself is again the tiki bars, several of them layered up to get those nice little totem things going. Then they've got a regular bar inset there, and then the filled bar cabinet as well as a few other things like the tiki lamps and the red moon panels and such. Got the standing screen panel. That one I like because it doesn't have a lot of wires and stuff hanging off of it, but I think this is where we came in. We're just looking at the other side of it. If you're wondering about the little mechanical monkey, coconut monkey thing here, that is a promotional item. You can't get that anymore as far as I'm aware, but if you were lucky enough, people find some fun ways to use it. Okay, let's see what else. For this part here, for this part of the kitchen, I think it's the weapons crates again, using it as ovens this time rather than the fridge, like over here. Part of that is, I think it's the, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like the meat stack of like it had it's this thing here. There we go. It's this thing, shish kebab kind of thing, and all they showing is the little hot dog on the top. The back part is ichthy and laser fence, and then on the bottom it's the little tabletop grills. They just got a pair of them down there, that inside. I think this is part of one of the this whole box thing is part of a bookshelf. I think it's the Exile version. And then most of this is tablet computers. for the little gadgetries, I think this part here is like the magnetized containers. The flames, I'm not really sure what those are. I suspect it's one of those newer seer thingies. I don't know if it's Draken or Falcon or what, but I kind of remember something coming from, I want to say it's Arctera. They've got these new tall, and they've had these really large flames coming off them. I think that's what it is, but I'm not really positive. The burners themselves are part of the ship hand lockers, if I'm not mistaken. The little whirligig things here, I'm not sure. We have several tanks and stuff that have those little handles, nozzle thingies. So you probably just have to experiment with whatever's going on. This part here is the exile generator, and then the little, I don't know if this is supposed to behave like a microwave or what, but it's like the panel video display. I think it comes from, I can't think of the place. A RIP vendor though, I know that for sure. Um, I can't think of the name of the zone. Like there's a couple of crash sites nearby, and you have to go in to save the peoples, and it happens to be. I'm sure that doesn't help, but there we go. This little conveyor belt system, that's just the treadmill upside down, I believe. Okay, moving on. What else? That part, we saw that. Library. And upstairs. So I think that's it for the interior of this. Again, there's a lot of things, a lot of detail. I could probably come here a few times to see something different in each one, but still fun stuff. Go through maybe here first. Make sure we don't miss any. Having that glass bottom always makes me nervous. It looks like we're just gonna fall right through. So here's another little room. I don't know if, I guess this is like a medical ward. Got a little porch thing here. Here's that Barbie. And yeah, it was on the front here. That's that part that was inside the house, on the wall where all the flags were. That's that bit. Just gives you an idea. There's lots of layers in this little tower. We're just kind of intermittently going in and there. Kind of hard to get a good overall shot as well. The plot. There's like a little living room area. Here's one of those pinball machines. I was mentioning earlier, we've seen some people come up with some really clever ones. This one's pretty elaborate as well, and all the detail that's gone into it. You can see some of the shop signs, um, curved glass for some of the tubing and such. There's looks like a mounted headpiece. The back part is, of course, one of the travel posters, and then you've got all these other little bits in here. It looks like what are those things called? Turrets, technophage emitters for some of these light bits. For the little arrows, I suspect, or these little blocks here, I suspect it's part of the Macari furniture, but I'm not positive on that. It could be just some lamps. This part here is, I think, part of the Gatorade machine. They even have a little strain critter there. Another Gatorade machine for that. Freebot's Freebot scanner, Freebot analyzer. It's one of those. This item is the same as this item here. You've got the neon signs, some Sulfrost tubing. This here is that not techno, Protostar platform, detonators, and then for the little drawback thingy, that's a all file. One of the Winterfest lights. Again, people find interesting ways to sneak those things in, even when it's off season. For this little game table, they're of course using like mini NPCs. Now, in the past, I've heard people have problems with NPCs and such that maybe they oversize it or undersize it. Sometimes when they leave the plot and come back, it's like warped back to its original size. I've seen that in a few places, but in this one, it appears that they stay shrunk. Um, but there are instances where that might not be the case. So again, you just kind of have to cross your fingers that it works like you're intending. I've seen some try to build like these little miniature, like almost like a three-dimensional map. They'll have all the landscape and little houses, and they'll have these little miniature like Kurg and stuff. And then when you come back, like the Kurg is like covering the entire place because they've gone back to original size. So it's a gamble on that. But the table itself is like a nautical wheel, and then they've just put in a dome or whatever to fill it up. I'm bound to miss at least a little bit of stuff because there's just so many things here. This looks like a little bit of a restaurant type area. You've got some drinks and a little cabinet here with food, and then a food stand, and of course along with the tables. Now the tables themselves are hover part pieces, and then the ship hand benches, not only for the seating but for the base of the table as well. Notice the ship hand benches are using two to make a single little couch type of seat, and a few other places as well. The little refrigerated cabinet here, that is a bookshelf that's had some framed glass tacked onto it to kind of box it in. That's not perfect, clearly, but it's nicely done. It's like curved glass and then flat panels and then a flat panel on top and bottom to kind of round it off. You learn to make do with what you got, even if now if this was actually set up against a solid wall rather than this netting here, you could probably get away with possibly using the display case. Has a little bit of glass work on the top. Sink it in, maybe. I don't know if that would be deep enough or not, but it's possible. Something to consider. This here, that's a charming bar. Got it right the first time, peoples. They call it the fancy bar. The taco stand, they've got also the grill and then those little kebab thingies stuck on there. Give it some extra oomph. Here they have a little shower thing going on. Little toilet. It's like a really mini toilet here. little sink set. This part here, that's just the cellar entrance with some shelving and tables added. The doors, notice the handles, they're some of those Sofrost tubing. The towel racks are just 2 files stuck end to end. And of course the towels themselves, there's 2 kinds, the carrot one and then the striped one. Both of them come from Boxing Gym Fab Kit. If you can make it past the 4th opponent, I think there's like 8 or 10 altogether, but if you make it past the 4th one, I think you're pretty much guaranteed to get one or the other towel. That's how I usually grind up the towels, is I just keep, if you complete the challenge all the way to the end, I think you have to wait like 30 minutes before it resets so that you can try it again. But if you only battle up to the 4th and win the 4th opponent, then run away from the Fab Kit, it'll fail, and then you can go back and immediately restart it. Kind of a cheaty way, I guess, but you know, that's how the system works, and that way you could just repeatedly go for the 4th opponent and just pile up the towels. Of course, I guarantee you, if you're aiming for the striped towel, you get a bunch of the carrot ones and vice versa. That's how it works for me anyway, but there you go. Me personally, I've never been able to complete it, so I never get as far as possibly getting the kitchen sink, which also comes from that particular challenge Fab Kit. But the towels I find are much more usable in various ways because they're a fabric. Use them as not only bath towels or kitchen towels or beach towels or bedding for like blankets and stuff, but it's a much more versatile item than the kitchen sink is, so I find it more useful to just do the 4 opponents and be done with it. For the little showers here, of course, they're using waterfalls for the water. Up here is some of that Osun bit. There's that brassiere that they use for the stove down below. I said I wasn't sure about the flame. It's like a little posts thingy. It's not like a flat little bowl. There's a rod there. But yeah, that's where that comes from. I don't remember the name of it, so I'm not even going to try and guess. This here again is, I think, one of those Osun pillars of some kind, and then of course the Red Moon vents. You can see outside a little bit. Again, it's difficult to make a good shot of everything because you can't position your camera the way you might want to. Got the solid windows there, but there you go. Again, bookshelf and a door, a little cabinet, towels there. Okay, which way did I come in? Or this way? No, I think I came up this way. I don't remember. That's so sad. Okay, this brings us up to the, now if I wanted to risk death and embarrassment, I could try and hop on my hoverboard and leap across, but I'm not going to. We've already been over there. That was where the like blinged out ship is. You can see like the magnetized container striping on the side and whatnot. Again, you can see there's lots of little areas up above and those down below, so makes for interesting build, let's just say. So this how dangerous that looks. It looks like I'm just gonna fall right down. It freaks me out. Anyway, I think this is the uppermost uh, layer, this towered little building. A lot of soul frost stuff, some of these little brackets and stuff, even the throne part of that. You've got the soul frost panels stuck on top of the ergonomics keyboard. There's the Macari table. There's a soul frost. It's the same thing down here, but they've got it enlarged above. Over here, you've got some of those soul frost blobs along with Osun bits. There's the control panel there. Again, I think the animation with it looks like snowflakes and stuff is coming from that frost skull. Again, I think a frost skull's inside this here to help give it that sparkly feel. And I don't know, maybe they're trying to make it like this is the thing that controls the environment and gives a little, keeps it the right temperature or something. I have no idea what this is supposed to represent, but there you go. There's that technophage platform. But there again, you can see just how many layers there are. And it's all kind of connected, but you have to kind of move around a little bit to get to it all. Turrets, and then some of those Dominion shields. I don't know what all this is. I think that's, again, the body scanner. And it looks like some of those portable planters. I don't know what's being used for the rope bits. I suspect it's an oversized item because I think the rope bits go all the way down. So it's maybe one of those giant antenna thingies. But I am not sure at all what it could possibly be. Now, this leads us to the upper area that we couldn't reach from the first plot. Check it out while we're here. Now, I'm not sure what they're using. I think it's the rated floor panels create this shape, this building, and then it looks like a bunch of different shopkeepers, selling different parts, aircraft parts, weaponry, spooky stuff. If you're wondering about this little strange backdrop, I think it's gating, crowded graves, and like the spooky windows all kind of layered up. Got a little food vendor, voodoo vendor, voodoo food. Ladder here or staircase. Again, it's that squid platform, multiples of them. Here we have kind of a library setup. I like the division of the books with the posters. That kind of a little interesting. I'm using some of those train compartment for decoration there. Over here, maybe a souvenir shop or something. Or what that's for. Going up. Bar, loungy areas, guess the Red Moon fan, part of that Red Moon kit. And then they're using multiples of the awnings, added extra stuff with all of the overgrowth hanging on it. You have this little outdoor eating. Fun stuff. Yeah, I think we're still on the first spot. We want to go. There's the other upper area that we didn't. Now, if this ends up taking us into this one, we'll back up. There's a good shot of that waterfall from the front where we first come in, and all the places we've been on over here. Getting a little bit of peek. I think this just walks us all the way. And you can see they've done a really good job on the landscaping, bringing all these water features and little, I don't know what you call them, plateaus, mesas, something like that. Really skirting the edge of the community plot as well. Look at the use of the waterfalls for these pools up above, and then they just have that water streaming straight down into the plot below. Yeah, I think we're getting ready to branch into the other one. So we're gonna, don't want to go too far. Hopefully it will connect. If it doesn't later, then we'll come back and walk to it from on the other side. But you can see how they're using the awnings, kind of a weird little canopy with the overgrowth. And even having the waterfalls coming down, even if they didn't finish work behind there. I'm gonna have to be wrapping it up soon. And we've only gotten through the two plots, mostly, almost. This may end up becoming a more thorough visit, like 3-day kind of thing. Walked right off. Okay, so back down all the tubing. See if we can find us a good stopping spot. it feels pretty linear as far as the pathing going up this like winding tower kind of setup, but you can tell there's a lot of like connections that lead you off different directions. So might not be as straightforward as one would like, but I'll just open out. I'll just jump off. That's easier for me. Yeah, I probably broke it. There's, again, it's one of those deals if you have a functional door like that, it really pays to check it from both directions and just repeatedly go in and out of it because you never know what trouble your visitors might have, especially someone like me. If I can find something quirky with it, I'll be the one to do it because it's I have a knack for messing things up or not following it exactly like one would think. So, wanna a curse, I think, more than a gift. Where that goes from here. Looks like from here. I don't remember running through that, so we'll have to check that out later. So yeah, we'll finish up this second plot and then hopefully we can get through the other three tomorrow. If not, I will string it out to a third day if necessary. Because again, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of little bits like this filled with a lot of detail, and it takes time to go through it all. Obviously, I don't touch on every single item. It could get even more monotonous than it is if I was to try that, but hopefully you get a pretty good fill of what's going on and what items are being used in case you want to kind of not necessarily copy it, but use it as inspiration for something that you're trying to build as well. Yeah, we're going to wrap it up today, guys. I hope you had fun. Again, we will be back tomorrow to continue on with this tour, starting from around about this area, and make plans to join us if you can. If not, remember we do upload all of these videos to YouTube. We've got probably, I'd say, easily close to 500 videos there now, with hours and hours of just me yapping and us looking at some really amazing plots and things. From all sorts of different kinds of themes and scenarios being put up, whether you want something summery or wintry or holiday related or movie related, there's just a little bit of everything. Obviously, they're not labeled accordingly, but if you're looking for something specific, you can usually ask us or ask on the forums, and we could probably direct you to some places that will be the kind of styles and such that you're looking for. But yeah, so even if you can't make it for these live shows, you're always welcome to check them out later on YouTube at your leisure. And again, if you have any questions, you can always post them in the comments or directly to me via the Twitter, Twitch, the forums, in-game even. In-game is probably a little bit more iffy because I don't get in as much as I would like to, but hopefully we can answer any questions you have. In the meantime, whether you're going to be here tomorrow or not, I hope you guys have a great day, great weekend, great week, great month, whatever, great year. We'll just encompass it all. In the meantime, have a fun time. Good luck with any projects you're working on, and we'll bye bye.